All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jacob Rossi. I'm a program manager on the web platform team for Microsoft Edge, and this is my cohort David.
Hello guys.
And we're here to give you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're here to give you an inside look at the platform inside of the browser and hosted web apps on Windows 10. And we want to start out by taking a look through the last year of this new rendering engine that powers this new browser, EdgeHTML. When we forked from the MS-HTML engine that powered Internet Explorer for 20 years, we took a different approach to how we implement the platform and how we approach making our browser work well for all of our customers. And put simply, that was interoperability and compatibility together. In the past, in the later years of Internet Explorer, standards were the primary way that we informed how we built APIs, which is a great starting point. But the reality is that the web uses different APIs across all browsers, many of which are defined by standards, many of which are defined by de facto behaviors, many of which aren't even in standards at all. So we paid very close attention to what browsers implement and what websites use. And if you looked at, we drew out this sort of approximation when we first started building EdgeHTML of how we thought they overlapped. So here's a look at Internet Explorer and its API surface area and how it sort of overlaps with other browsers. And you'll see that there's quite a lot off in the distance that is not shared by other browsers, proprietary Internet Explorer APIs. As well as a lot of it that's not supported, a lot of stuff that's not in Internet Explorer that is in other browsers. Particularly, there's this high convergence that we believed existed between Chrome and mobile Safari used on the mobile web. So we said, let's take this rendering engine, remove the cruft, remove the proprietary stuff that's not standard, that's not interoperable, and let's focus on implementing the stuff that is used by the web and that is shared across web browsers. So fast forward, and we've fixed over 8,000 different interoperability issues. These are little tiny things that every day as a web developer, you hit things where it throws an exception when you didn't expect it, or an API is called something slightly different in Internet Explorer than it is in another browser. So we continue to make lots and lots of these fixes so that your code just works. No matter whether you tested first in Edge or in Chrome or in Firefox, we're trying to make sure that everything is interoperable. Beyond just bug fixes and fixing those pinpricks, we're also implementing lots of new standards and web features. This is a graph through our open roadmap. So we started sharing our roadmap for web standards, what we're building, what we support, what we think we'll build next. And that's available at status.microsoftedge.com. And this is a graph over the last year and a half. And the blue area shows things that are in insider previews. The yellow area shows what is things that we're implementing right now. Our team is coding up. And the green area represents things that are in the stable releases of EdgeHTML. So last summer, EdgeHTML 12 and the first release of Microsoft Edge with Windows 10 shipped. And then later in November, there was a major update with another set of standards. So we have over 90 different things that we have that we're either working on or have shipped since Internet Explorer 11. So quite a lot of new functionality available in the browser. And through one lens through that is a public benchmark called HTML5 test. It's one look at this, at a measure of support for new standards. There are many, but it gives you a nice round number to give you an idea. Well, Internet Explorer 11 was fairly behind at around 336 on this score out of a possible 555. We've made steady improvements in EdgeHTML, and just recently, these are a look at the most recent versions, including nightlies of different rendering engines. Most recently, we leapfrogged over the Firefox rendering engine, and now are sitting fairly high on this test with a lot of new web standards we're going to talk about today. So this is an actual look using real data of what we thought the web platform looked before. So if you take a look, what this is we survey, we have an engine that can actually crawl a rendering engine, any browser, and identify all the APIs it supports, and generate this Venn diagram that shows how they compare to each other. So you can see Internet Explorer is sitting off to the side, just like we anticipated it did in that first graph that I showed you. But as Edge slides into this graph, you can see it starts to converge with other browsers like Chrome. This means that we're seeing real-world improvement in interoperability between rendering engines. And it's paying off in compatibility. So we're starting to see web developers such as Brian Cardell talking about websites just working in Edge. It's living the dream of a web developer. Write once, deploy everywhere, and it just works. We do a test pass of the rolling top 100 websites across the internet. And Internet Explorer would have a baseline support, compatibility, pass rate on these things of around 70-ish%. And we would use a compatibility view list, a shim, if you will, to increase compatibility and adjust for top websites. That could get us in the low 90s. But with EdgeHTML unshimmed, we're actually sitting neck and neck up with the compatibility that you expect across any modern browser. So really seeing positive improvements in compatibility, and our customers are telling us that it's working for them. So in 2016, what are we doing now? We focused on interoperability and compatibility. We continue to make lots and lots of improvements there. So what are we doing now for 2016? These are our top 5 priorities in 2016. The #1 user request for Edge is extensions, and we've been working hard on an extension platform, and we're going to talk more about that later today. But also accessibility. We want the web to just work, but we want the web to just work for all customers. And we're achieving that through accessibility and inclusive design. We're focusing on fundamentals. The browser needs to be secure. It needs to be fast. It needs to be efficient and conscious of your battery. We're making lots of improvements in that area. But we're also embracing future web standards that are emerging and going to power the next generation of websites and experiences on the browser. And finally, we continue to embrace the openness of the engineering culture that we've established with Edge through things like our open status roadmap. And we have additional things that we're going to be unveiling on the next few weeks in this area as well, so stay tuned for that. So what's new that you can try out today in EdgeHTML? I mentioned accessibility as one of our top goals for the rendering engine and the browser. We're making significant improvements for features such as high contrast and being able to invert colors. The representation of web pages to accessibility tools through things like your ARIA tags and whatnot, making sure that those get read clearly and interoperably through screen readers and other assistive technologies. We're also adding support for new web platform features that enable you to build a website that's more accessible. Semantic elements like color pickers or time elements in the output element. In addition to just stuff that's in the rendering engine and for users, we're also building things for developers. Coming soon in the developer tools within Edge, there's a new accessibility inspection tool. So if you're familiar with the DOM inspector, you can actually select an element and see the browser's representation of that page and how it communicates it to assistive technologies. So for example, we can see here that we have an input element, and we can tell that it's not the accessibility controls would not represent this as a password control. It knows what its label is, and it knows whether it's editable. These are examples of things that you can actually verify in your website through this tool. In addition, we have new web standards that can be used for inclusive scenarios such as speech synthesis. The speech synthesis API allows you to use text-to-speech, selecting a voice, selecting a language, volume, rate, or even using speech synthesis markup language, SSML, to read aloud text from a web page. So let's take a look at what this looks like. We've got a short demo here for you.
Hey. Can you see it? Excellent. Yeah. So here I have a simple page that can demonstrate how you can use simply the speech synthesis stuff. So let's start something really simple. Hello world, obviously. And if I click here on speak, you should hear, which is not the case.
Hello world.
Yep. Cool.
Hello world.
So,
hello world.
Yes. Stay calm. So we have Zira, we have Mark as well, if you prefer.
Hello world.
Yeah. Good accent, good English accent. So as you mentioned before, we can set the volume, the rate, and the pitch, and we have two voices. More can come. And here, let me show you how simple it is. This page, the code that you have here in Visual Studio Code is exactly the code of my page. And I just want to showcase the really simple stuff. Everything related to the speech is in this specific function here. I just want to create a speech synthesis utterance, I'm not sure of the pronunciation. I want to specify the text that the speech synthesis need to synthesize. I also need to specify the voice that I want to use, the language, the volume, the rate, and the pitch. So you control everything, and at the very end, you just say speech synthesis.speak. That's it, using the option object that I mentioned before. That's it. Pretty simple, right?
Pretty cool.
It's really important for accessibility, and here I have for the very first time in the world, accessible breakout. Yes, really. Something that we tried with a blind person. It's a lady in France. We asked her, do you want to try to play a breakout game? She is blind. She told us, could it be possible? And it's possible because mostly of the sound. If I start the game here with the blind checkbox, I can start the game. And the sound, thanks to web audio, will reduce when the ball is far. And every required information, like now, it's not easy.
23.
Yeah, I don't know if you hear it. I'm running inside the VM here, and so the performance are not very good. But the voice told me, OK, there is, I don't know, 20 blocks that you still need to destroy. The sound was playing at various speed to allow me to understand where is the ball. And that lady managed to finish the game. So it was the very first accessible breakout, thanks to web audio and speech synthesis.
Very cool.
Thanks. Code source is absolutely free and available on demand. Feel free to ask.
So another new web standard that's coming to EdgeHTML is the Fetch API. The Fetch API is a cornerstone of a series of specs that we're prototyping around service worker, push notifications, and other web standards in that family. But the Fetch API is a new modern way to generalize network requests and responses. It's a promise-based API that allows you to make fetches and get responses through simple code like this. This is an example here. You can make a fetch, you pass in a URL and an options bag. The options bag has parameters for what the HTTP method is. You can specify headers as well as the body of the fetch. And you returns a promise, which comes back with a response object, including status codes. So this can be thought of in its simplest form as a more powerful, modern version of XML HTTP requests. And going forward, as we light up things that we're investigating now, like Service Worker, you'll be able to use this to intercept requests and change responses and go into the world of offline and other really cool web experiences. So we're starting with the Fetch API, and later we hope to continue on with Service Worker. Another networking-related API is the Beacon API. It's very, very common for websites to want to collect analytics and telemetry, particularly on links that are clicked. We see very abnormal behavior in trying to make sure you get that telemetry back home. Things like synchronous XML HTTP requests. You click a link, you want to make sure that you can fire off a beacon, if you will, to your server that says they clicked that link. And so you use a synchronous XHR to keep the browser from tearing your page down until that network request goes off. Well, what that does is slows down performance for the user. The navigation gets slower. So we wanted to build an API that allows you to do this more explicitly and deliberately. So there's the navigator.sendBeacon. It's very simple. You get a URL, and you can pass in data. The data can be anything, a string, an object. Anything can be serialized into the network. You fire and forget it. Because it's used for telemetry and analytics, you don't need a response back. So when you call this method, it simply returns And the browser guarantees that even if the browser navigates away, the request is made, your analytics come back. And we also can deprioritize the network request to make sure it still goes off, but maybe the page that we're loading next is prioritized over that so that we don't harm the user's navigation performance. Also new in EdgeHTML, support for the WAF 2.0 font format. WAF 2.0 is a follow-on of WAF 1, which was already supported, that supports a better compression. Fonts, particularly across the top 1,000 websites, are a huge contributor to the bytes over the wire in loading a page. 62% of the top 1,000 websites use web fonts. What we see with WAF 2 is an average of about 30% savings over WAF 1. And sometimes that can go over 50% for things like East Asian languages that tend to have a larger character set and better compressibility. Also new in EdgeHTML is support for the web notifications standard. We've done work with the Windows 10 Action Center to integrate notifications from websites. You can see here, this is an example of one appearing in the notification center here from Skype. And the code is very simple. You get to customize icons, titles, and messages. You just simply construct a new notification object with a message and an options bag that lets you configure how that looks. And so we've actually got an example of this for you as well.
Yep. So I have a really developer-oriented page here. As you can see, the wonderful design. If I click here, I will receive a notification. Boom. Best demo ever. How does it work? Actually, it's pretty simple. Once again, in your JavaScript code, you just need to access the notification object and you request permission. So I already said yes to this permission, and I was not able to remove it. So I wanted to show you that. It's just a simple form. Do you want to allow the page to send you notification, yes or no? If you hit yes, then you can create, as you mentioned before, a notification object here with a tile and some option. And then you can just say, OK, if I click on it, I want to do something, or it's just purely informational. That's it. Pretty simple, right? We can try to do something. I have a specific version of Skype here. Let me log in on this account. And I'll try to communicate with my friend David here. So it's the real Skype, purely based and completely based on the web. This time, no plugin, nothing, just purely JavaScript. It's an experiment. I'm not sure if it will work. So disclaimer, this can crash. Or just not log. Sounds good. So here, David, if you please, send something interesting. And yes, let me just go here to be sure that I receive the notification. Because if I'm already on Skype, obviously the notification is not useful. So waiting for the great message from David. I hear a sound, and I have my notification. Good. That works perfectly well. Thank you. Wood. It's like magic for me.
So web notifications work today for sites that are loaded in your browser and background tabs. And later on, we hope to light this up with push notifications and Service Worker. Also new in EdgeHTML is improvements on our RTC support. So in November, we added support for the ORTC API, the latest version of RTC, real-time communication in the browser. This is to enable video and audio chat within the browser. And now we're happy to announce that we're adding support for interoperable for the interoperable WebRTC 1.0 API, the first generation of WebRTC, into EdgeHTML so that the same code can work across browsers. And in addition to that, we're adding interoperable video format support. These are coming soon to EdgeHTML through VP8 support as well as H.264. Many other things are coming soon to, or already in preview builds for EdgeHTML, including open audio through Opus, the VP9 video codec for playback in the video element. High resolution time level 2 is as an updated version of the performance working group standard, as well as support for dragging and dropping folders for upload scenarios and other HTML5 drag drop experiences. So let's shift a little bit away from the EdgeHTML feature set, and let's look at what's new in the Chakra JavaScript engine. Last year, we talked about some amazing ECMAScript 6, the newest generation of the JavaScript language support in Chakra, and we're really pleased to see the progress over the last year across browsers, and now this is becoming real so that you can use ECMAScript 6 interoperably across browsers. You can start to lean away from transpilers as well as get better performance. But we're looking beyond ES6 and now starting to look at ES 2016, ES 2017, with new features showing up in Chakra builds today, like the exponentiation operator, async and await, as well as objected entries and values. But perhaps the biggest news in Chakra since the last time we were at Build is the ChakraCore subset of the JavaScript engine is now open source. It's available on GitHub. It's all the same components of Chakra that ship inside of the Microsoft Edge browser. And we have an open roadmap talking about things like cross-platform support and other features and futures for the Chakra JavaScript engine. One of which is integration into Node Chakra, is integration into Node. Node.js, extremely popular JavaScript server-side engine running on top of the V8 JavaScript engine. Actually, we made a pull request, and it's been integrated into a branch of Node where you can use ChakraCore running Node. So you get to take advantage of those new ECMAScript language features, as well as, here's a look at some performance, early performance numbers. So this is using the TypeScript compiler. So you can compile TypeScript using Node. And this is performance metric comparing mainline Node.js running on V8 and Node.js running with ChakraCore. And you'll see that we're really proud where lower is better in this chart to be showing some initial performance numbers that look great. Across the board, there's still some work to go. Orange was the earliest version of Node Chakra, and green is a later version where blue is the baseline performance for Node.js. And so we continue to invest here. We've got some places where we're doing better, some places where we've got some work to do. But it's all open source, and we're happy to take in contributions on GitHub. So let's take a look at a demo of Node Chakra.
So Node Chakra is pretty simple to install. You just go to Node.js, the Node Chakra website, you install it. It's like your regular Node.js installation. And you get, for instance here, a command prompt with Node.js. Everything regarding Node.js is supported, that's cool. And you mentioned performance, but thanks to Chakra, we are also able to use advanced feature. You mentioned, for instance, ECMAScript 2017, and for instance, the async await.
The future.
Yeah, it's the future. It's now. It's not today, it's tomorrow, but actually it's really today. I can use it right now. So I just wrote this simple Node.js code here where I'm doing, and I'm creating a promise. So first step, promise, supported by Chakra, fine. I can use a promise. This promise has two functions, resolve and reject. When I'm calling here my XHR call, if everything is fine, I will be able to say, okay, if I'm receiving a status of 200, fine, I can resolve with the response, else, I can reject. This is how promise work, okay? I'm taking some callback object, and I'm just wrapping everything inside a promise. First step. But we can go further than that. Actually, look at that. I have this wonderful tiny little thing here, async. If you are C# developer, is there any C# developer here? Oh, there are a lot, actually. So you know that. You know async await. You know that your life changed the day we introduced async await in C#. We move from the callback hell with callback of callback to a really easy-to-read code with the same performance. Here, thanks to ECMAScript 2017, and now, really inside your Node.js, you can do exactly the same. I can have a async function. Inside this async function, I can await a promise. Look at this beautiful code. Now, I can marry it. I'm pretty sure I can. You can just read it like, OK, I'm awaiting the JSON, I get the result, and boom, I'm done. Obviously, the code is great, but making it working is even better. So let's just call. So the file is main.js. Boom. Yeah, it's not that impressive, it's not 3D stuff or whatever, but it's asynchronous. And it works inside Node. So that's a good reason to use Node actually with Chakra. Performance first, and then all the new future science fiction stuff we introduce inside Chakra.
Cool. So another key part of the web platform that powers Microsoft Edge is that we build on top of what we call one core. It is one rendering engine that we share across all places that Windows 10 runs, from IoT through holographic computing, PCs, mobile, Xbox, and even the Surface Hub. There are features that we build inside of the rendering engine that help you take advantage of building websites and hosted web apps that work across the universal Windows platform, like pointer events adapting to different types of input, continuum experiences on mobile, allowing you to switch from mobile to a desktop experience, web audio, Flexbox, media queries, the Gamepad API,
absolutely,
and WebGL for 3D graphics, as well as the full screen API to take advantage of the screen real estate of the device. So David's going to talk to us about one example that we built that takes advantage of this.
So my passion is for 3D on the web mostly, and I'm working with my fellow friend here, David, on a 3D engine named Babylon.js. And we use it to demonstrate here that exactly the same code can run on Windows desktop, obviously, but as well, and that's really incredible, on Xbox One, since the latest update, you have Edge inside your Xbox One, and the same code can also run on your Windows Phone. Obviously, it's the web, so it can work on other platforms as well. And let me just switch to number 8. This demonstration here, can you see it? Yes, you can. So it's running at 60 frames per second on my small X1 Carbon here with no GPU or whatever. It's using WebGL, Web Audio, Gamepad. I don't have a Gamepad, but you can trust me. We are also using touch support. So if I'm switching the camera here, I can go on interactive mode with my mouse or with my finger as well. That works well. And you can have exactly the same pixel perfect experience on Xbox One with your Gamepad, for instance, thanks to Edge, which is working everywhere.
So one of the biggest improvements to the Microsoft Edge platform in 2016 is finally we're showing you the extensions platform. Preview extensions today in the latest Insider Preview build, we have a set of extensions that are available, Reddit Enhancement Suite, Microsoft Translate, as well as mouse gestures, and a whole bunch of others coming, including AdBlock, AdBlock Plus, no first-party AdBlock, Amazon, Evernote, OneNote, Translator, and a whole bunch of others that we have on our blog. We're starting with a small set, and we're going to expand those over time as we build out our API, test out our platform, with the goal of eventually opening up these extensions to all developers through the Windows Store where users will install them. What does the extension platform look to a developer like? It's based off of web APIs. We're using similar APIs to what you might experience in a Chrome extension. And these APIs are actually now being standardized with folks like Microsoft and Mozilla through the Browser Extensibility Community Group at the W3C. A basic extension includes a background script running behind the scenes at all times, as well as a manifest that describes the extension and its capabilities. This is all wrapped up in one big package that's submitted through the store. You can have UI in the browser through a pop-up, as well as script that runs inside of the page to do things like inspect links or manipulate content within the page, such as the Translate experience. There's a set of extension APIs, and there's a roadmap available at this link that talks about what we're working on now and what we think we'll look at next. And they involve all kinds of different things, including messaging between those different components in the extension. Localization is new. Network features to intercept network requests and change things, as well as integration into the operating system. So we have an example for you.
Yep. Number 8, actually. Yep. So here, I already have installed custom extension that I wrote here, and as you can see, this extension is here. We have pretty advanced support, like the version number. We can say, do you want it in the address bar or in the, at this level? I don't know how to call this panel here. But first of all, how do you install it? And I have a specific build that allows me to go, no, not here, to go to the store. Extension will be shipped through the store. So here, this is the page of the extension itself running through the store, and I can just install it. It will be deployed to Edge, and then I just need to go back to Edge, and this extension is here. Okay? So now, this extension is already installed. Let me show you this little page. So to become rich, I decided to create a new company, the Mars Commuter One. I want to send people to Mars. So it's a long-term goal, but I already have the website.
Sign me up.
Yes, for sure. I want to use this website to showcase how we can use this extension. This extension is mostly for web developer. The page analyzer tool is a tool that will run through your page, and it will scan for a lot of rules. This rule, let me just start it, actually. It's even easier to present it when it's done. So it's analyzing your page, and we are analyzing your page regarding web standards, accessibility, performance, and mobile web. We are using Vorlon.js project. It's an open source project that you can contribute. It allows you to help remote debugging web page, and inside of Vorlon.js, there is this page analyzer. So we extracted it. We just create a shell around it, and this shell is this extension. And actually, if web developer like this extension, we have a plan. We can call that the F12 incubator. We have a plan to move that inside F12 if web developer think it's a good tool to be just included inside the Edge itself. So now, for instance, I can check my page here. I can open every of these, let's say, error. And it can tell me, for instance, that my button must have a discernible text. I must have a sufficient color contrast. We teamed with DEC system and with X. It's not easy to say for a French guy. AXE. It's an open source framework that allows you to scan your page and get a lot of information regarding accessibility. So we teamed up with them, and this is the result. So for you as a web developer, just install this extension, and you have all these rules checked for you. When everything is green, you can publish your website. How does it work? So let me open this. You mentioned the first entry point for an extension. This extension is the manifest. Inside this manifest, I have to precise the name, a description, some icons to use, and the action. Action is the little button here, this one. When I click on this button, what should happen? So I need to precise which icon I should use, and then what action will be called. The action will be managed by this object. It's the background page. It's like a shadow page running, waiting for event from the UI itself. Okay? Let me show you. It's pretty simple in my case. There is no UI associated with it, just a page, the browser action.js, which is just here. And actually here, I just want to say, when clicked on browser action, so my icon, let's just say I'm creating a tab, you know, this specific tab, a new tab inside my Edge. And here I just want to browse this specific page. So it's a way for me to say, OK, this is all the UI of my extension. OK, I can open a new extension, a new tab, sorry, or as you mentioned, I can also have a pop-up. It depends on what you want to do. Because Page Analyzer requires a lot of UI, we decided to use a new tab. And obviously, when it's removed, then we just need to remove the tab itself. Going back to the manifest, we also have content script. Content script is interesting, and it's something mandatory in our case. The content script will run within your page, the real page. Okay? So because here, the page analyzer needs to communicate to the real page, the page I want to analyze, my Mars Commuter web page here. So there is, inside this page, a script that I did, which is running in the context of the page. So this script is just waiting for an order from the background extension. When I click on Run, a message is sent to my background script running inside the context of my page. And it will go and analyze the DOM element, gather all information that I need, and send a message back to the extension. Does it make sense? OK, cool, thanks. So this script is here. It's volant extension.runtime.js here. And here we have a bunch of code. Obviously, I won't go through it. But it's just about analyzing the current DOM. There is nothing fancy here. You are running inside the page. You are waiting for a message. You will do something. That's it. And then with that in mind, you can think about a lot of cool and really interesting extension. Ad blocks, for instance, works exactly this way. They are running inside your page, blocking some stuff. And that's it, actually. That's pretty simple. One specific point I would like to mention. If you want to port a Chrome extension to an Edge extension, this is the only thing you have to do. Chrome will use windows.chrome to access their extension API. For now, we are using windows.msbrowser to access the extension API, and the plan is obviously, as we mentioned, to have a W3C specification on top of that, which will probably be windows.browser. So that's it. Everything else, you can just call the API. Just one warning here. We are not at 100% complete, as you mentioned, so you have to check if the API is already supported or not by Edge. If it's not supported, you have to wait. But if it's supported, then your extension can work. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so check the roadmap that we showed at AKA MS.
Thanks.
But wait, there's more.
There are more, yeah.
What's coming next? We have a few things that we've mentioned that we're prototyping. I mentioned a few of these along the way, including service worker, push notifications, some additional specifications for web components like Shadow DOM and custom elements, ES6 modules. We're excited about bringing the future of payments in the web through the Web Payments Working Group, as well as the next generation of JavaScript performance. We support ASM.js, and now we have some prototypes that you can learn about on our blog for a new specification called WebAssembly that offers even improved performance beyond ASM.js. You can connect with us. All of what we've talked about today is heavily informed by what we hear from developers through things like our user voice, where you can suggest ideas and vote up ideas, our blog and comments. We're on Twitter at MSEdgeDev, is staffed by actual engineers on the browser. And of course, check out dev.microsoftedge.com for all your developer needs, including that extensions roadmap lives there. And if you're still in town, on Monday we have the Edge Web Summit, where we'll have a full day of talks about the browser and what's coming next. It was sold out. We actually made a little bit of extra space. If you're interested in attending, see me afterwards, and we might be able to squeeze a few more people in. Don't forget to complete an evaluation. We hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you back next year.
And if you have any question, that's now. Perhaps we can turn the light in the room. And there is 2 mics. Yes. Feel free to ask any question.
Let's go to the mic so that everybody can hear the question. We'll start over here. That's right. Yeah, so the gesture, the multi-touch gesture experience for a trackpad on the web is something that's still being defined. We're working with other browsers on how that should work. What does it mean to use 2 fingers on a trackpad, 3 fingers on the trackpad, et cetera? There are different ways to approach this, whether it's defaulting to a wheel event or perhaps even providing actual pointer events where you could get locations for fingers on the trackpad. And that's something that we're aware of, and we're working with other browsers on figuring out what should be the interoperable behavior. So yes, it's something on our radar. I don't have an exact ETA when we'll fix it, but yeah. Understand, yeah, thanks. I feel your pain. Yeah. If you are an extension builder and interested in talking with us, we do at aka.ms/extension-request. We're taking contact information and looking at what APIs we currently support as well as what users are asking for. So we're trying to find a good mix that balances what users are looking for as well as what our platform needs to be evaluated for. So go check out the website. We'll be ramping up slowly and eventually we'll open it up through the store. Yeah. Yes. We don't have any plans today to support toolbars. Yeah.
No HBO, yep.
So you said we have all that. Do you have any idea about the
Web MIDI? So for any web standards roadmap questions, I suggest you check out status.microsoftedge.com. Web MIDI is under consideration. I know it's fairly low on our backlog priority, but if you want to change that, there's also user voice where we take in votes for that API. Yeah. Yes, sir. For other operating systems? Yeah, so the question was, do we plan to build Edge for other operating systems? So we think that we have a lot of opportunity to build an excellent browser on Windows 10. It's our first and foremost priority is having an excellent browsing experience for Windows customers. And you're seeing, if you were at some of the sessions earlier in the week, you saw some of the new user experience features that we're bringing to Windows 10, and we're going to keep doing that. We think there's a lot of opportunity there. We don't have any plans right now to announce for other operating systems. It's not out of the question, but right now our focus is on Windows 10. Yes. Are we planning to make it outside of Windows releases? Right now, we are building a lot of these features that you see. For example, I mentioned a lot of the media codec features, as well as some of the graphics features, are built in lockstep with new features in Windows 10. So as VP9 support comes, for example, to Edge, it so also comes within the Media Foundation support within Windows 10. So the fastest way for us to deliver features is to deliver those together. And that's our plan right now. You can get the latest versions of Edge and EdgeHTML through the Insider Preview, just like you can Windows. And we're working on, for example, if you want to run a stable version of Windows, but a leading edge version of the browser, we do have a remote service that we're working on through Azure that allows you to run that. And that's what we're working on right now, but we're listening to feedback for that.
So extensions are obviously available in the store.
Yep.
Yeah, so the current preview builds only support sideloading for the initial experience. The way when Windows 10 Anniversary comes out this summer, the users will get it will be through the store. But developers will be able to sideload when they enable developer mode on their machine for testing and developing extensions. The sideloading, the extensions in the store look a lot like apps in the store, and you can launch the store just like you can to launch the store to an app. Correct, yeah, sideloading is intended for just developers, yeah. WebSockets is supported within the browser and web pages. I'm not sure myself exactly on the support within extensions, but we can check with that afterwards. So I'm not positive about the support. There is one of the APIs that's still on our roadmap for talking to services and other applications on the machine is native messaging. That's not yet supported, something that we're looking at in the future. And I think when that works, it'll work through UWP applications. I'm not quite sure about network connectivity to localhost loopback for security and sandboxing policies, but we can talk about that afterwards. I'm happy to check it out and we can play around with some code. Yeah.
So I think you said you want to see new Edge run inside of maybe new Windows 10 version, but you can't see the Edge preview on stock Windows 10.
That's right.
And when does the accessibility page show up?
The F12 tools? Yeah, so those should appear in probably one of the next preview builds. They're in some internal builds. In fact, I'm happy to give you a little demo off stage of some of that. And I expect some preview builds as soon as that's stabilized a little bit more. You'll see that feature show up. Yeah, so if you're familiar with the inspect tool that can be used for testing accessibility APIs on Windows, this is a web developer focused version of that. It's made for web developers, does some translations of how accessibility works on Windows into the language that the web developer would be more familiar with, into things like ARIA and whatnot. It's a subset of what you can find through Inspect, but it's a subset that's more relevant to the web APIs that you use to make your web page accessible. We'll expand that over time, but right now it's the core set of things that we think give you the best ability to debug how your experience will be with a screen reader and other assistive technologies.
I'll take a look at it after. That Inspect doesn't show, Inspect does not show things. You're not going to see those appear with the accessibility tab.
Yeah, I don't anticipate it showing more than what Inspect shows, correct. But it is a friendlier user experience than Inspect, and it's isolated to just the web page rather than the whole system, yeah. Yes, sir. Oh, let me take one over here, sorry.
Does that mean as of new little content extensions that will not be in store and also the browser behavior and so on?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite follow the question. Can you repeat it?
Looking policies to load content extensions that may not be in store, enterprise extensions.
So the side-loading experience that I described was intended for developers. For a policy question, maybe we can chat afterwards and see what your scenario is, and we'll figure out whether that's going to be a supported scenario. Inline install, like through a web page, you mean? No, the way users will get extensions is through the store. You could launch to the store, but it'll be a user decision to install that extension. Noted, thanks.
No more question?
One more?
One more, yep.
One question is one thing that's when we try some time on Edge, and is that whenever I want to prioritize back devices to Jira and to go to Internet Explorer to be able to direct them, there's feedback and system functioning. And functioning on other browsers, so I was wondering a bit whether that's somewhere on your backlog.
So in November, we improved our support for drag drop. So make sure you're using the latest build. We also added folder support now. If there's something that's still not working, maybe you can catch me afterwards, show me, and we can either log a bug or figure out what's going on. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.
So you saw the loading drive that was really awesome. So I have a question about the Azure functions. Are you using loading drive
For async functions, is that what you said?
Azure functions?
Azure functions. I'm not sure about Azure support. You'd have to talk to the Azure team for that. Yeah. Cool. We'll stick around for more questions.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.